This is day 2 of our leadership series as exemplified by Lee Kuan Yew, the incredible leader who transformed Singapore into a first world nation. This is in continuation of the 15-day critical review of his book, From Third World to First. Day 2, we are looking at pragmatism over ideology. Applying pragmatism over ideology, as exemplified by Lee Kuan Yew in transforming Singapore from a third world to first world nation, means prioritizing practical solutions based on what works in reality, rather than adhering strictly to political or economic dogma. Lee's approach focused on achieving tangible results by making decisions that were adaptable, flexible, and driven by unique needs and circumstances of Singapore, rather than sticking rigidly to a fixed ideological framework, whether capitalist, socialist, or otherwise. Here's how Lee Kuan Yew's pragmatism played out in various aspects of Singapore's development. Economic policies. Lee's primary goal was to create a prosperous, stable economy instead of following strict ideological lines such as laissez-faire capitalism or central planning. Singapore developed a mixed economy that took the best elements from both. The government intervened heavily in certain sectors, housing, education, and infrastructure, while allowing free market principles to thrive in others. For example, the government promoted export-led industrialization, attracting foreign direct investment by offering incentives like low taxes and developing world-class infrastructure. This approach contrasts with many developing countries at the time that followed protectionist policies based on anti-colonial ideologies or socialism. Singapore retained ownership over key industries through government-linked companies, yet these enterprises were run efficiently with accountability and competitiveness akin to private firms. This combination of state control and market competition was pragmatic, designed to boost growth while maintaining stability. Number 2, multiculturalism and social policy. Singapore is a multicultural society with a mix of Chinese, Malays, Indians, and other ethnic groups. Instead of pursuing a singular ideological approach to race and culture, Lee Kuan Yew embraced a pragmatic stance of multiculturalism and meritocracy. While English became the official working language to foster international trade and global competitiveness, local languages such as Mandarin, Malay, and Tamil were preserved to promote social cohesion and cultural identity. This bilingual policy was a practical compromise that ensured Singapore could integrate into the global economy without losing its unique cultural fabric. Through public housing programs, Lee ensured that different ethnic groups lived together in government-subsidized housing, which minimized racial segregation. Ideologically, this was a blend of social engineering with free market principles, ensuring social harmony while enabling home ownership for the masses. Number 3, political governance. Lee Kuan Yew adopted an authoritarian style of governance, often at odds with Western democratic ideals. However, this governance style was not ideologically driven by the idea that authoritarianism was inherently superior, but was seen as a necessary tool for managing Singapore's particular circumstances, such as its lack of natural resources, its small size, and its ethnic diversity. Lee established strict rule of law policies that created a corruption-free, predictable environment conducive to business, while Singapore maintained significant political control through the People's Action Party. This control was not arbitrary, but aimed at ensuring stability and progress. He often argued that Western-style democracy might not have worked for a country with Singapore's challenges. Restrictions on press freedom and political opposition were justified not through ideological loyalty to authoritarianism, but through pragmatism. Lee argued that these were necessary trade-offs for maintaining societal order and economic growth. Global relations. Number 4, Lee took a pragmatic approach to foreign relations, aligning Singapore with global powers based on strategic and economic interests rather than ideological alliances. Although Singapore was surrounded by countries that were ideologically aligned either with the West capitalist or the East communist, Singapore chose non-alignment during the Cold War. This allowed Singapore to maintain beneficial relationships with both blocs and avoid being caught up in regional tensions. Lee focused on peaceful relations with neighbors, particularly Malaysia and Indonesia, with whom Singapore had historical and territorial tensions. His pragmatism was in making diplomatic concessions where necessary, recognizing that peace and cooperation were vital to Singapore's survival. Number 5, education and human capital. A cornerstone of Singapore's rapid rise was its investment in human capital. Lee Kuan Yew's policies prioritized education, skill development, and a meritocratic system, rather than following ideologies that emphasized equal outcomes, for example, socialism, or unregulated individualism, for example, free market capitalism. Lee's government emphasized equal opportunities through education. The brightest students, regardless of background, were given the chance to succeed and contribute to Singapore's development. In the early stages, the government invested heavily in technical education to create a workforce suited to the needs of industrialization. This pragmatic approach ensured that the country could meet the demands of multinational corporations and develop competitive industries. Number 6, environmental and urban planning. Lee Kuan Yew's vision to Singapore as a garden city was also rooted in pragmatism. Despite Singapore's dense population and limited land area, he believed that a well-planned, clean and green environment would make Singapore more attractive to investors, businesses and residents. The government provided affordable public housing, and in doing so, Lee's policies integrated ideologically socialist elements such as government-led housing development with practical market-driven principles, which included promoting home ownership and wealth accumulation. Therefore, by prioritizing pragmatism over rigid ideology, Lee Kuan Yew enabled Singapore to rise from poverty to become one of the world's most prosperous nations. He took a result-oriented approach, borrowing from various systems: capitalism, socialism, and authoritarianism, wherever it best served Singapore's unique circumstances. His success illustrates that effective leadership often requires adaptability and a willingness to discard ideological purity in favor of what delivers the best outcome. Lee's pragmatism not only helped Singapore achieve economic success, but also fostered political stability, social cohesion, and a high standard of living, turning the nation into a global model of development. Again, we have this kind of leadership postulation here in Nigeria. His name is Peter Obi. And my advice to Nigerians is that whatever you do, you must come to that threshold and determine that that man must be Nigeria's president. Learning from Lee Kuan Yew, I believe Nigeria is fixable, and together we must fix it. My name is Chikeze Obonna Onyenanuzoche, and this is the COO. Here we talk solution. I'll see you next time.